There's so many people that I run into that think they'll never be able to buy a house. And in reality, there's only 3 factors that can stop you from buying a house. I'm gonna share a quick story of one of my clients who was challenged in all 3 of this. I'm gonna tell you exactly what she did and how you can do the same. Nancy and her family moved to California when she was just 2 years old. And like many people, they didn't have a good understanding of complicated things like credit or even how to invest. For a long time, they were just trying to get by. And you're probably thinking, absolutely, nobody taught us the rules of money or how to win the financial game. See, in my house, learning those things was something that was reserved for the rich. So I grew up thinking, if that's what the rich do, I'm gonna learn those rules and I can become rich myself. Now, I'm not rich yet, but I'm definitely working on it. And in this video, I'm gonna show you the biggest hack I've learned to getting rich, and that's real estate. Now, the biggest thing that stops people from buying a house today is a lack of income. And for Nancy and her family, that was a huge deal. Nancy's mom worked at a factory and made minimum wage. Her father was a gardener and got paid cash. So when he went to the tax guy, they wrote in a bunch of expenses to zero out his income. Now, sometimes tax guys do this because they want to help you reduce the amount that you owe. But unfortunately, when you zero out your taxes and you try to get a mortgage, the lender assumes that you don't make any money. So if you're someone who's self-employed and you'd like to get past that, make sure you start planning with your tax guy a couple years in advance before you buy a house so you show some positive income and don't shoot yourself in the foot. For Nancy's family, it was better not to even include dad at all. So we removed them from the transaction and just focused on mom and Nancy. Nancy worked in retail and she made more than minimum wage, but unfortunately, she was only working part-time, so her income was very low. Nancy made a total of $16,000 a year and mom made a little over $31,000. Their monthly income came out to $3,900 a month. This was a challenge for them due to the way that lenders look at income. Some lenders will allow you to qualify up to 47% of your total monthly income. So let's say that you and your spouse make $120,000 a year or $10,000 a month. At 47%, it means that your total mortgage payment could be no more than $4,700. And if you want to write down a quick formula so that you can calculate your own debt to income, is you take your total gross income for the year, you divide it by 12, and that's going to give you your monthly income. You take your monthly income and you multiply that by 47%. That's going to be the maximum mortgage payment that you can have and still qualify. So for Nancy and her parents, that put them at a payment of $1,862 on a mortgage payment. And unfortunately in California, it doesn't actually buy you much. Nancy was super disappointed when we reviewed the file. She said that it was her dream to buy her parents a house, and she said that she'd do whatever it takes to get there. She asked me what I would do if I were in her shoes. At that point, I realized anyone can actually buy a house if they understand the rules and figure out a way to fit into that box that lenders put on her. The first thing we did for Nancy and her family is we put together a personal family budget. There's going to be a link to my personal family budget video below, so make sure you check it out so you can create a budget for yourself. Doing their personal family budget, we found $135 in what we call money leaks. Money leaks are essentially when money leaks. Think of that gym you pay for but don't actually go to the gym, or that subscription that you have and you don't actually watch the Hulu or Netflix or whatever the case may be. For Nancy, we found those 2 things totaling $135 a month. It freed up some cash flow that she can use elsewhere. Now for them, the credit was also a challenge. They had some unexpected expenses recently and they took on $12,000 worth of credit card debt, but they also fell behind on some accounts and had some medical collections that showed up. Because they maxed out some of their credit cards, their credit took a little bit of a hit. See, credit cards play a huge role in your credit score, but one way to hack them is to keep your balance below 30% of the actual limit. So if you have a credit card that has a $1,000 limit, you want to owe no more than $300 to maximize that score. Another quick hack when it comes to credit cards is to watch the statement date. See, the credit card companies report to the bureaus on the day that your statement closes. So if you anticipate this and make that payment 5 days before the statement closes, the amount that gets reported to the bureaus will be lower and it'll boost your score a little bit. Now with Nancy and her family, we started to pay attention to that, and we also started to play the debt snowball game to bring the debt down. But you're probably thinking, well, how are we going to pay off so much debt with such little income? And believe me, that was my thought too. So here's what we did. I asked Nancy what the deal was with her job. She was only working part-time and making very little money. She said that she had been at the same job since high school. She was just comfortable and really liked the people there. And I totally understand it. You go to work all the time, you make friends, and you just seem to enjoy it. But think of it this way. When you go to work, you're literally trading your life for money. So if you're never going to get that time back of your life, you want to get as much money as possible. For Nancy, we looked at jobs on Monster.com and ZipRecruiter. She watched a video similar to this one on how to write a resume. She sent out a few resumes, and within a couple of weeks, she had a job offer for $68,000 a year. That's 4 times the amount of money that she was making before. Mom did something similar and got herself a raise of almost $1,000 a month. The new income was life-changing for them, but it made the process much faster. Then we started to play what we call the debt snowball game. See, most people tell you to pay the credit card that has the highest interest rate first, but this works much better. You want to write down all of your balances from the biggest to the smallest, and the first thing you want to do is focus on that smallest debt first. Once you pay off that smallest debt, it frees up cash flow so that you can use it for the the next one. Then you cover the next one and the next one, and eventually it snowballs to zero debt. Now this helped them get out of debt relatively quickly, and it boosted their credit score because the balances on their credit cards came down. Now because they had some other credit challenges, we connected them with a trusted credit repair expert. There's these companies out there that will actually help you clean up your credit, but you want to be careful because there's a lot of them that are kind of shady. So make sure you get a good recommendation from someone and check out reviews on sites like Google or even Yelp. Between paying down the balances and working with our trusted credit expert, her credit score went up almost 135 points in a little over 12 months. The last thing that can stop you from buying a house is just not having enough down payment. This one is the least important because there's tons of programs out there that can help you if you're a first-time home buyer. For Nancy and her family, we started to do what we call paying the future payment. And here's how that works. Let's say that you're currently paying $2,000 in rent and your future mortgage is going to be $4,500. You want to start paying that $4,500 now. So you take the $2,000 and you pay it to your landlord the way you normally would. And you're going to take the other $2,500 and put it in a savings account. This is really cool because it actually does two things for you. The first thing it does is it helps you save for that down payment, but the second thing it does is it's going to help you get used to making that higher payment so that when you take on that mortgage, it's not a big shock. For Nancy and her family, that extra $2,500 a month helped them pay off their debt super fast, but also save up enough money to have their own down payment. We were able to negotiate for the seller to cover their closing costs, and they were in. 16 months later, Nancy and her family bought their first house in Palmdale, California. Today, they have over $220,000 in equity, and they're super happy. And the reality is that you can do the same thing. If you understand what the lenders look for and you figure out a way to get there, you too can be a homeowner and start building that generational wealth. If you learned something in this video, please let me know below in the comments. Make sure you subscribe for more videos like this, and let's keep in touch through Instagram.